Tanks, run! That's exactly what's going through my mind when I see an enemy tank. Hello everyone, this is iKonakona, and this video is all about tanks in Battlefield 3. Now, I'm going to extend it to APCs as well, because this is, it's armor, basically. By the way, if you guys didn't know, armor is like the code name or the name for any armored vehicle like a tank or an APC like what I'm in right now. Now, like any other vehicle in Battlefield 3, you're going to have to understand the dynamics of how to control the vehicle first before you really get comfortable on actually killing people, and it's definitely something that I have to get used to as well. Now, with a tank, you can control it like a regular car. You can go forward, you can go backward, you can turn left, and you can turn right. But with an APC and a tank, it works a little bit differently. In a tank, you can actually turn in place, what they call it turning on a dime. You can basically rotate where you are without going forward, whereas with an APC like this, if you want to go to the left, you have to go forward and to the left. Now, in addition to driving, you're going to have to get used to controlling the turret, because the turret, wherever you're facing, is not necessarily where your vehicle is going to go when you step on the gas pedal. The vehicle is going to go wherever it's pointed at when you press on the throttle, and wherever you're pointing, that's where you're going to be shooting. And so you can actually be driving sideways, but shooting like a completely opposite direction. Like, it's kind of crazy when you start to do this kind of stuff with a tank, but it still can be really effective because you can like shoot while you're strafing, and technically there is no strafing with this with the vehicles. But oh, by the way, here the EOD bots, be sure to watch out for them because engineers are starting to earn them, and those EOD bots, what they'll do is they'll try to sneak up behind you because no one really notices those EOD bots sometimes, and they'll sneak up right next to your vehicle and start just damaging your vehicle, and soon you're wondering like, why is my vehicle getting damaged so much? But you don't see any enemy. It's probably because either the EOD bot is right next to you or like an enemy engineer is right next to you with a repair tool. Also here, I'm jumping out and I'm repairing my vehicle. Luckily, I have some teammates here. I actually have a squad that I know, some of my buddies on Xbox. And, I can call out when I'm repairing so that they can give me some covering fire while I'm repairing. Now back to driving and shooting at the same time. If you look at the bottom of the screen, you'll notice this 5-sided figure and what looks like a line pointing up. Basically, that line is going to be the direction I am pointing with respect to the direction of the vehicle. So you can actually see the orientation of your gun with respect to the orientation of the vehicle so that you can kind of know where to go when you press on the throttle. And if you're really good, you can kind of like work in sync, like do these weird maneuvers where you're like going backwards or going sideways and shooting a completely different direction, and it kind of throws the enemy off sometimes. Now, this next clip demonstrates something that I try to avoid when I'm playing with vehicles. Now here, I'm actually an engineer with an RPG, and I get a hit on this tank right here, this enemy tank, and that causes the driver of that tank to bail. So he's right there, and I actually end up killing him. But his tank is still operational, it's still alive, and so I actually repair it, and I steal their tank. In Battlefield 3, they introduced a new concept to vehicle gameplay called disabling vehicles. Basically, when your vehicle is disabled, you lose control over the vehicle. You still have some control over it, but you lose a lot of control over your vehicle. But your vehicle is still savable. You can still repair it up to full health. So what that guy did was actually he bailed out of his tank because I disabled his vehicle, and because of that it was still alive and I could actually save the tank, and right now I am in that tank that I just stole. So now the other team is down one tank. They will not get a tank back until I am dead, until this tank here I stole is gone. And so it provides a huge advantage if you can steal the enemy's vehicle when they bail. So that's why I recommend, if you're getting attacked and you're gonna die, do not bail. If you do decide to bail, make sure that your vehicle gets destroyed when you bail. So actually sometimes what I do is if I'm about to die and I know I have to bail in order to save my life, I bail out and I destroy my vehicle that I just bailed out just to make sure that the enemy can't use that vehicle against me, because it's a huge advantage when the enemy has more vehicles than you. Now, aiming with the tanks can be a little tricky because I learned from playing single player that the single player tanks have no bullet drop. They don't have really any bullet drop at all when you play single player. So basically, wherever your crosshair is in single player, that's where the tank shell is gonna go. But in multiplayer, there is bullet drop. So it takes a while for the tank shell to reach its destination, but it also the bullet is going to drop a little bit, or the tank round is going to drop a little bit. So you have to compensate for that by aiming a little bit higher. Now, as far as what class to play when working with vehicles, I recommend Engineer, and obviously it's because as an Engineer, you can repair your own vehicle. You can also play as other classes like Medics, or actually it's called Assault now, right? It's called Assault. You can go as Recon or Support, but you won't be able to do anything if your vehicle gets damaged. The thing is, vehicles get damaged very quickly in this game, especially in urban environments, because most likely the enemy team is going to have engineers with RPGs, and it only takes a couple of RPG shots, like well-placed RPG shots, to disable or destroy a tank. So I recommend being an engineer, so just in case you're damaged, you can back up, you can get out, and you can repair your own vehicle. Now, the tank and the APC have a second spot for a gunner, and the gunner can control the secondary gun on the top of the vehicle. Now, the gunner is very important because it serves two purposes. The gunner is used to spot enemies that you can't see. The cool thing is that the gunner can point in all directions. I mean, you can point in all directions too, but the gunner can turn in directions where you're not facing, and if he spots an enemy, he can let you know about that without you turning and actually seeing them, so that's good. And the second reason is because sometimes there are just too many enemies to deal with. The tank's main gun has a very slow rate of fire, and even though it's very powerful, it can be difficult to take care of a lot of infantry at the same time. So it's good to have a gunner on top that's giving you some covering fire while you're shooting. And the enemy is bound to have some support guys with some C4. Guys with C4 are very dangerous because they can sneak up behind you without you even noticing, and all it takes is 2 C4s to kill a tank. So right here, I actually don't have a gunner, but I'll get a gunner later on. But yeah, it's really important to have a gunner. Now, the next thing you're going to have to deal with when playing with tanks is taking out enemy tanks. The enemy is most likely going to have some tanks, and you're going to have to take them out because sometimes infantry is just not enough to take out tanks. Now, I will admit that dealing with enemy tanks is a lot more difficult than dealing with enemy infantry. With enemy infantry, you have a huge advantage. You're in this very strong, big tank. Even though you have a slow-firing gun, it's very powerful, and infantry basically don't stand a chance once you get your eye on them. So, taking out tanks can be difficult, but one of my tips is try and go for weak spots on the tank. The thing is, the tank is built so that taking a round from different angles is going to cause different amounts of damage. If you shoot a tank in a tank's front, it's going to do the least amount of damage. The front of the tank is where you have the most armor and the most defense. So shooting a tank in the front is not going to do too much. You want to try and go for areas like the treads, especially in the back. If you can hit the tank in the ass, that's probably the best way of taking out a tank. As kind of weird as it sounds, shoot the tank in the ass and you'll probably destroy it the fastest. But the other weak spots are things like the treads and the area right in between the turret where it rotates and the body of the tank. Right where it rotates, that little gap there where the turret is on top of the tank. That's also a weak spot as well. But shooting a tank in the front is not going to do much, and it's going to take a lot more shots to destroy it if you're continuing to shoot a tank in the front. Now, when you play game modes like Conquest and Rush, the tank can be the spearhead of your attack. The tank has so much armor that it's really useful to use the tank as kind of like the front line attacker when you start to go in and get the objective. You can see here that I'm kind of using the tank to help capture this point. But it can be difficult at times because infantry like that can try and sneak up on you. So it's also good to go in with infantry. When you see a tank go in to get a point, send in some infantry as well, because the infantry can take out other infantry. The tank offers such a huge distraction that the enemy infantry is just going to focus on the tank, and that allows you to send in like an infantry team yourself and take them out, so you can really easily flank them. Now, the tank's main gun actually has some blast damage, so you can use the main gun to shoot in random places and kind of feel out where the enemies are. Right now, I'm trying to figure out where the enemies are, just trying to, shoot in these places where I think they are. I actually take a shot right here, and boom, get a double kill right there. And so, they actually were hiding because, they don't want to be spotted by me. They know that they don't stand a chance against me. And so they were hiding, and that was smart for them. But luckily, I have a tank with a main gun, and I can shoot in all these places and try to figure out where they are. So in this last clip, I'm taking out this tank here, and he actually pops some smoke, but luckily, I can still see him a little bit, and I just take him out, shoot him right in the treads, and he is gone. So there are some tips for tanks in Battlefield 3. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and go out there and try to do your best with vehicles, because vehicles are super powerful in this game. So that's today's video. If you're new around here and you enjoyed it, you can click on that yellow button and subscribe to me. Also, 2 videos you may have missed. On the left, I play some heavy on Gravel Pit, and I talk about my YouTube channel and the fact that I'm using Twitter now. And on the right, some Soldier on Gold Rush, where I'm doing a dual commentary with my brother, Prof. Snape. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching, and have a nice day.